All right, y'all. I'm gonna try to be serious today, okay? It's gonna be real hard. Um, no, but it is a very serious topic. And I was actually working on the end of leader school, which I have completed. I was in school with Dr. Matthew Stevenson of All Nations Worship Assembly, and now I'm in Impact University. So I actually got homework to do in there as well. I had to go back through and look at all of the stuff that they sent me. I got homework in there as well. But there's a big difference between the leader school homework and the homework at Impact University. One is, it seems like it's a lot more prophetic and biblically based. Leader school was really getting in touch with who I am, my levels of confidence, and working with other people, being able to determine who you are in a workplace, in your career, in life, and basically just to understand who you are as a leader and what type of leader you are. So I came to the conclusion that I'm actually a philanthropic and creative leader. Who'd have thought it? So sorry, work been kicking my butt, y'all. Don't tell nobody. One of the things that has come up a few times, just listening to All Nations, is honor. And I had a really big thought around this whole parental honor thing. And I felt as though maybe I needed to give this to someone because I don't think it's something that I've actually spoke about. I've had a couple people actually throw it in my face. Not everybody was aware of this cycle that was actually handed down. But I'm gonna give it to you all, even though this is something that I've come to understand how it impacted my life. So y'all just stay with me. And I'm going to try not to get emotional about it because I don't think I've ever discussed this with anyone a day in my life. But I'm going to give it to whatever parent and child need to hear this today. And you ain't got to be a child. You can be an adult. If you got a parent that makes you their child. I got a mama. I'm her child. I can be 80. I'm still be her child. So when I was younger, I got into a really big brawl with my mother. And I think what brought this out of me is that I was talking to this guy and he told me he was present when I was having a conversation with my mother. Those of you who have followed the videos know the background that goes with my mom. And he told me that he said, I commend you for being so respectable of your mom, even though you know what she does. And I had to explain to him that I had to grow to honor her. And let me explain to you all what I mean by that. It wasn't that I grew up being a dishonorable or disobedient child. I didn't respect the person she turned into be. The person she turned out to be, though. I didn't feel as though I needed to respect my mom. I didn't need to respect who she was out in these streets. And that's how I was looking at it. And I know that as time went on and some of the things that went on between she and I caused rifts in our relationship. And one of the things that happened between she and I is that we got into this argument one day. I had just birthed my first child. I was at home. My child's father was locked up and me and my mom were arguing. I went in my room, slammed the door in her face. She opened the door and she threw an ashtray at me. And my daughter was laying on the bed. The ashtray hit the bed and bounced off the wall. My reflex, I'm not saying it's a good thing, y'all, but I'm just telling you how I reacted really quick, was to turn when I realized what had just it happened so fast. I immediately, the ashtray missed her, but I had already hit my mama. Now, I'm not saying it to say that I'm proud of any of this. Just because she does what she does in the streets did not mean that I was supposed to raise a hand to her. And let me explain to you all how I've had to pay for this. I've raised three girls. Well, I'm still raising one, but it's a total of three of them. And what I've already gone through with the first two is them being disobedient, them being disrespectful, and I've literally had to fight both my daughters. Understand what it is that I'm giving you all, because certain things occur that we don't foresee as being something we should be avoiding because it's already happened. Let me rewind and try that again. There are things that we foresee that we should be looking at, that we shouldn't be doing because it's already happened. Like, it's almost like we perpetuate our own cycle, if that makes sense. I knew what I had done to my mother when I was younger. I wasn't expecting for my kids to do the same to me, but I wasn't approaching motherhood the right way either. Even though I wasn't doing what my mama was doing out in the streets, I wasn't no better a mother raising these two kids than my mama was raising me. I wasn't looking at it like that at first. But when he sat there and explained to me that, he's commending me for how respectable I'm being towards my mom. And I'm like, this hasn't always been this way. I had to learn to honor her. And when I say that, I mean, I had to get familiar with that which, number one, she didn't have when she was coming up. And number two, some of the things she went through as an adult struggling to raise kids. I had to understand that because I can't expect for her to act the way that I want her to act. She can't give me what she didn't receive. And I'm not saying it to say that my granny didn't do the best. My granny had 11 kids she birthed. Them a lot of kids to be keeping up with. So I think it's only natural in instincts like that where you're going to fall short in parenting, especially when it's just you. And so I had to really, I didn't want to look at him and be like, boy, you don't know the half of this thing. I just had to really break it down to him about how, in the beginning, I wasn't honoring my mother at all, despite everything she was going through. I didn't see it as that. I blamed her for the things we went through. I was angry with her for how she had us living. Everything that I was going through, I looked at it like this was because of her. What I had not took into consideration is, how did she get that way? And I think that's the question we keep forgetting to ask. We're so quick to be judgmental about where someone is in their life that we never take the time out to actually consider, how did they even get to this point? And in me just listening and hearing in the conversations that me and my mom have now, I get it. I was too young and naive to understand that back then. And here I am trying to raise my kids with whatever it was that I saw, because there wasn't any teaching. I'm just doing whatever it was that I was coveting every day. So here I am raising my kids in a way that my mama had raised me. Was it right? No. Hell no. I had to learn that though. So even in me relearning me, what ended up happening is that, and I'm going to give y'all this real quick because I haven't dropped the video for it yet. What ended up happening, I'm going to give y'all this, and I don't want y'all trying this unless you trust in yourself. Don't try this unless you trust in yourself that you are okay with actually dealing with what you have gone through. And I don't want nobody out here ready to slit their wrist because they didn't remember something. Understand what I'm saying? So what I did was I listed out. Remember I told you guys I had moved like 28 or 29 times. I went back to that board that I had those listed on, and I realized that I had missed like 2 addresses. That is crazy. Oh my God. So here's what I did real quick. So what I did was I listed out everywhere I've ever lived. Now, for some of y'all like, I ain't never moved. We still in the same house my mama raised us in. That wasn't the case for me. Sorry. I wrote down every house that I've ever lived in. Well, you could probably still do this too. And And what I did was I listed everybody that lived in that same house with me at the time that I lived there. I listed if there was a car I was driving, I listed the school that I went to, or if I was working, I listed where I was working at that time. I wrote down everything that I could identify with, and then I tied the places that I worked, the places, the events, the big events that I attended while I was living there, the person I was dating while I was living there. Every time I hit a different place, there was a whole bunch of new memories that I had to write down. Now, what I did was I went back and I had to highlight everything that was tied to a traumatic incident. So in me doing that, what I had to do was actually look at that traumatic incident I had with my mama that day and my baby. And then I had to really think about this was me going through my own traumas and cycles. This is just one example of it. When I thought about it, I realized I put my hands on my mama when me and my mama was into it. I've gotten into it with two of my kids and they decided they wanted to fight me back. Now they ended up on the ground, but that's another story. That's neither here nor there. I apologized. We done been in counseling with the pastor and everything, so it's okay. They're okay now. Everybody's healed and everything. But it did happen, and I had to own up to the fact that this thing came full circle. You put your hands on your mama, and now you in here fighting your kids. So it's one of those things where it's like, I can't expect for my kids to honor me when I didn't honor my own mama. So I had to work to instill an understanding in my kids that which I fell short in. There were a number of areas that my kids were vocal about where they needed me at, and I was falling short in it. And I had to learn to be honest. In order for them to honor me, I had to be honest with them with what I could and couldn't do. There were instances where they spoke about certain things and I had to tell them, baby, I can't help you in that area, but I'll find somebody to help you. I had to take ownership for that which I had never experienced myself. I've never been to an out-of-state college, but I surrounded Asia around 1 million people that hadn't been out of state just so she could understand how this was getting ready to go down, because I couldn't give that to her. So I went back through my traumas and cycles. This is how I came to understand how I had to come to honor my mom, and then how I had to come to get my kids to actually honor their mom. Understand what I'm saying? Because sometimes we don't realize where God might have created the cycle. I'm not saying that hitting a mother is a cycle. What I'm saying is I did it to my mama and it came full circle right back to my own house. Understand what I'm saying? I'm giving this to y'all because I felt as though somebody else needed to understand that. People look at me and the first thing they want to do is judge a book by its cover. Y'all don't understand. This right here, it took a long time to get to this. But understand who your parents are and understand why it is that they are the way that they are. Go back and ask the necessary questions. The question is, how did this person get to this point? Because they weren't just born into whatever it is they're going through. Something traumatic happened. And if you can stomach it, go back over your own life and pick apart those traumas and see where it is that you can make some necessary corrections, either with your children or other family members. All right. I love you all. See you next video.